with.
Hi. Good day, too. Another beautiful weather. Thank the good Lord for that. And second day in helmets down, so now we can put pads on, which we're all excited about. And, saw a lot of people flying around. Saw Jay Stanley flying around on the back end, making some plays. And Josh Ratliff has continued to improve as a player. And, I really like our depth at O-line. I like our first two groups. I think we've really taken strides at that position. The depth at running back shows, you can tell those guys can really play, with Frank and the rest of them. They're all doing well. With that, I'll open it up. There's a lot we can talk about, but with that, I'll open it up and see what y'all want to talk about.
How hard is it to gauge the offense sometimes when you don't have pads on, as far as offensive line?
Well, you just want to cover people up, and you want to do, what you want to make sure we're assignment sound. You want to make sure we're doing it with the techniques that we teach, and you want to make sure that we're covering people up, and that's really it. You can convince yourself of anything until you put pads on with all positions. And but we like where we're at with this group. Most of this group has played in some way, shape, or form. Last fall, most of them played, and then they played again this spring. And I'm looking forward to watching them play again tomorrow.
Coach, what kind of struggles have you seen, I guess, through 2 days of camp so far?
I don't know that we've seen any. Everybody's excited. It's early. We haven't hit the grind part of it yet. We got depth. We're just installing on both sides, and nothing out of the ordinary. The young kids are swimming. You know what I mean? Like they should be. It's like for them, it's like jumping into Calculus 4 when you didn't take Calculus 1, 2, and 3. You know what I'm saying? So you got to get caught up and learn. Going from high school football to college football is a drastic change. And so that's big for a lot of them, but we got good attitudes, and I like the young kids. Boy, they got a lot of length and size, and I think they got a chance to be really good players.
Coach Brownlee was such a big part of what y'all did over on the boundary. But it looks like this year y'all have the ability to maybe put more speed over there. Can you kind of speak to that and how that might play?
Yeah, we got Brownlee to the field a lot last year towards the end of the year. And the way defenses are starting to play, sometimes you can get more one-on-ones to the field than you can the boundary. So we got Caston and B. Hayes right there, a little more of a running back type body. They can use they're over 200 pounds and thicker, so they can use their size, if you will, to create space as opposed to height. I would compare it to like Charles Barkley was a great power forward, even though he wasn't 6'10". But Charles Barkley was strong and thick, and he created space that way, and that's kind of what those two guys are doing. They create space with speed and thickness and strength.
To that, creating space, looked like you guys worked a lot of intermediate stuff and shallows in that space today. Was that part of where you're at with your install? Yeah,
that was the install today. A lot of empty protection, a lot of getting the back out and getting them involved in the passing game. So with that comes some underneath stuff. We still went over the top a little bit. Those two young wideouts, J.J. Butler and Matt Nixon, you can tell they're going to be good players. Those are two great signees by Desmond Lindsay. And, but I thought our defense, Jay Stanley cut across for one time, made a great play. It was good back and forth today. It was what you want. It was offense make a play, defense make two plays, offense come back and make a play, and that's what you want when you're getting there,
Can you talk about Dylan Lawrence a little bit? He seemed to be all over the field today, batting down balls. Felt like if you throw anything to him, it's not going to get caught.
Yeah, great football player.
Yeah.
I'm ready to say that, because he did it for 15 practices of spring ball. He did it through the summer. And now 2 days. Now we'll put the pads on tomorrow, but look, Dylan's not afraid to hit. He's a team guy all the way. He's an older guy that's already graduated. He's a leader. He's George County. And George County is Southern Miss, and Southern Miss is George County. So we're just happy he's here. And man, him and Jay Stanley and the rest of those guys back there, that's a formidable group now.
Do you expect him to be a starter?
Oh yeah.
Coach, offensive football is always evolving. RPO game's been big the last 6-7 years. Can I talk to where you see it right now or where it's going?
Yeah, I think the one thing that has never changed is you can't put a ring on your finger without figuring out how to establish the run. You got to be able to run the football versus equated numbers in the box. So if we got 6 blockers and they got 6 people, we got to be able to run it. And after that, you start making them add another guy to the box, and you got to be able to complete passes and those things. So, the RPO was a big wave early. I don't think you're seeing it as much over the past few years. I think defenses have learned to match that, and probably over the next few years, I think you'll see offenses kind of go back in time a little bit and get a little more ground and pound, and in the tackles you're probably going to see because of the speed and the adjustments by the defense. Football's all cyclical, right? You know, Joe Gibbs killed everybody with GT counter in the 80s with the Redskins, and you didn't see GT counter through the early 2000s. Now it's back in abundance, you know.
Is there still room for a power eye fullback?
I think so. I don't know if there will be for us this year, but I think there will be at some places, and there will be eventually.
Coach, as the pads come on tomorrow, what kind of changes do you guys look for the staff and maybe how the players perform a little bit?
Yeah, we want to make sure that we are, you know, looking. We want to see who can block, who can get off blocks, and then who can fit up and tackle. We're not going to be able to tackle tomorrow, so who can fit it up the right way and throw it and get in the position to tackle, and then who can execute offensively with pads on. You know, catching the ball is different, throwing the ball is different. All those things are different with skill kids. So seeing that adjustment and how they overcome it, and then when we finally get to go live a few days later than that, you know, it'll be interesting to see who can tackle and who can break tackles.
From your experience, like, how do you think you know, certain kids like do a little bit better when they got pads on? You know, during practice.
Yeah, they're called football players. You know what I mean? I mean, they're called football players. I mean, it just I don't know what else to say. I mean, football's played with pads on, and just if you can play without pads, a lot of times you can still play with pads. But there are some people that just can't do it, and there are some people that are better with pads on. But yeah, you gotta play football with pads on.
Thoughts on how your guys threw the ball today?
I thought they threw it well again. You know, it's good to see when things are open, we're hitting it. You know, their eyes are there for the most part. It's really hard versus our defense because our defense disguises well and does a lot of stuff. So, you know, but I think they're picking it up well.
A little bit to that. Do you think? I mean, obviously, I would. If I can get the question out, I'd feel you feel really confident with your guys throwing against defense like this, really pushing them.
Yeah, you know, like I said, I mean, they had great springs. They went back and forth. Then they had really good summers from what we heard, and they've had 2 good days right now. So we're definitely pushing in the right direction.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right, Coach, a couple interceptions caught today, you know, about the defensive side of the ball, and just kind of, you get a testament to how good this group is getting, or just maybe the offense sort of adjusting a little bit?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's, you know, some of the scheme stuff's a little bit new, so, you know, these guys are starting to get a real good feel for where to play leverage-wise and coverages, being able to play on top of receivers, have vision on the quarterback. Because of what we play on defense now, we got a lot smaller windows to throw the ball in, and you know, yesterday we actually got our hands and we missed 6 of them. So we bounced back today, and I maybe got 3 or 4 out there. You know, popped the ball out on the sideline, on the offensive sideline there in the last team period. So, you know, we're making an emphasis on attacking the ball, whether it be interceptions, shots on ball, poke, punch, rake. You're trying to get that thing out. But you know, the guys are really starting to pick it up. It allows them to play fast now, and they can read their keys and then get their eyes back, see the ball thrown, and make a play.
Of course, you had the spring, but I guess what have you kind of learned so far about this group throughout your time here at home?
Well, we got a nice balance of upper class and young guys. So, you know, we've got a lot of guys that have been in this system because the system hasn't really changed. Maybe some terminology has changed, but for the most part, there's a lot of carryover in what we do and terminology, especially with the front aspect. So, you know, those guys can actually help coach the young guys. We've got a lot of good leadership in the upper class level, so you know, those guys can actually be an extension of a coach, and they can spend a lot more time with those young guys and get them on the side and be like, hey, you got to do it this way, or this is what you're seeing, you got to be able to react this way. So we got a lot of player coaches, which is good. So it takes a lot of pressure off of us as coaches to be able to spend more time in practice of watching and seeing the execution and then being able to coach off film, but at the same time you got guys on the sidelines that can coach younger guys up as reps are going on.
How much of a difference do you think your scheme is from Coach Armstrong's?
Just a couple different things, maybe pressure package wise. There's still a lot of stuff that we did the past 2 years that has carried over. I would say 95% of what we've done in the past has carried over. Some differences coverage wise and some stuff we play, but for the most part there's a lot of stuff that's carried over. I've added a lot of different stuff, but that's just more so because of my background coming from the Saban Coach Smart coaching tree style of just having a little bit more volume, just so you have answers as you go throughout a game.
Coming out of spring, when you went into your summer, thoughts on how you thought your spring went and what you took into the summer, saying, you know, these are things we got to get better at this summer?
Yeah, so I think, you know, there's a lot of learning going on, especially with the coverage aspects and some of the front setting rules because they're a little bit different than what we did in the past. But, you know, for the most part, you know, you didn't have guys like Swayze and Hayes Maples and TQ Newsom out there in the spring, so they didn't get a lot of reps until the very end of spring. So Getting those guys back in the summertime and getting them reps. I think you go back and look at our last 3 OTAs were probably some of our best OTAs that we had. Being able to cover people, being able to get hands on the football like we were talking about, and small things like that to give those guys the confidence in their ability to be able to go out there and execute at a high level.
It seemed like, and I know there's not full pads, so it's hard to get a lot of schemes, but it seems like most of the time you're in that single high safety kind of formation. You bring a blitz, or do you feel comfortable with the cornerbacks kind of on an island there?
Yeah, so I mean, that's kind of the world corners live in these days for the most part. I mean, a lot of times they're going to be on an island. It just so happens with where we are in our install right now, we're finally putting in some split safety stuff now, so it just seems like we're playing a lot more single high than probably have in the past, but we started implementing some of our split safety coverages in today. So, as we go, we'll continue to install more and more and build our volume of calls. So by the time we get to that first scrimmage, we got things to go to if we need to.
Can you maybe speak to how maybe the Saban cover 7 world has changed how offense is attacking now?
Well, it gives you the ability to have split safety coverage, but at the same time, you can still get a max run fit out of it. Because of the way you play some guys on the perimeter, it allows you to fit both safeties when needed, based off of the RPO game and everything else that's going on there. But it also gives you the great coverage ability to play almost like a split safety 2-man concept on the drop back pass game.
I know you can't speak on Avery's injury, but just how has his absence kind of affected the leadership on the field?
Well, obviously, losing a guy like that, it'd be great to have him here. Great leader, great influence on the program. Great influence on the young guys in the program. Those guys that have come in June, they could easily come out and tell you how hard a worker is, the kind of mentality he has, the kind of personality he has, the character and everything like that. But obviously it hurts a little bit, but at the same time we have a lot of other guys that can help keep that leadership role. And Swayze Bozeman, Hayes Maples, Jay Stanley, you got a lot of guys here that can lift those guys up, Jalen Williams, those guys. So obviously you'd love to have him back here just because he's a great person, great character. At the same time, he's a machine on the field like everybody calls him. So you'd love to have him out there, but we're obviously keeping him in our thoughts and praying for the best right there.
Off that question, I think certainly a benefit for Tremont to get those reps. Is he a guy that maybe, I know it's early, can help you guys if y'all need that third guy?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tremont's got unbelievable athletic ability. He's super strong, physical kid. Obviously, we'll know a lot more when we put pads on here tomorrow. But he looks the part. He can run. He can bend. He can do all that stuff. So we're hopeful that given us the time that we have before that first game, he can be a guy that could spell those guys if need be. In certain situations, but we have high hopes that he's going to be able to figure it out and potentially help us this season.
And can you just speak on what you've seen from Dylan Lawrence?
Yeah, Dylan, all those offensive guys, they all call him the Avatar. He looks like it out there. I mean, he's a guy that's going to hit 22 miles an hour on his GPS. So big guy like that at 215 pounds, having the ability opposite of Jay Stanley right now. You got 2 guys that are 215 pounds back there playing safety. It's like having linebackers that can run super fast and are super physical. So, I'm really excited about where it's at. There's still a little bit of learning to do there, but I think he's a guy that's going to have a really good season. That's a guy that's kind of hiding under the radar right now.